There are movies you can't forget. There are movies you can't unsee. And then there's a title whispered with the same tremor you hear in ghost stories told at midnight. A film passed around on bootleg tapes, hidden under counters, banned outright in countries that never even watched it. Before the internet, before viral videos, there was one VHS that spread like a dark urban legend. Kids dared each other to watch it. Parents warned each other about it. And entire news segments debated whether it should even exist. This wasn't a polished Hollywood production. It was a grim collage of death and disaster, stitched together with a somber narrator and presented as educational. But the tone was different. It was marketed as reality, as forbidden knowledge you weren't supposed to see. The more it was condemned, the more people wanted to see it. Police raided stores, governments refused classification, rumors of real snuff footage spread like wildfire, making it one of the most notorious home videos of all time. To this day, Faces of Death sits at the crossroads of horror, documentary, and urban myth. It's not just a film, it's a rite of passage, a dare, a name that still makes audiences ask, how much of this is real? Unlike the movies you've been covering where you can point to a star or a director with a long CV, Faces of Death was built to feel anonymous. The man behind it was actually John Allen Schwartz, using the pseudonym Conan Le Hilaire. His background wasn't in mainstream horror, but in editing and TV production. And that's what gives the movie its odd clinical rhythm. The host you see on screen, the calm doctor leading you through the footage, is Michael Carr, an actor playing the role of Dr. Francis B. Gross. He's not a pathologist. He's a performer guiding the viewer deeper into the abyss. Behind the scenes were a small crew mixing newsreel material, accident footage, and stage scenes with makeup effects by early career SFX artists. That hybrid is what makes the film so slippery. It looks like raw evidence, but much of it was fabricated. After performing an unsuccessful open-heart surgery, pathologist Francis B. Gross tells the viewer that he is interested in the transitional periods of life and death thanks to a recurring dream. At the same time, his experience as a surgeon has desensitized him to grotesque deaths. He has compiled footage to understand the many faces of death. Footage is played of various animal deaths, including a man killed by an alligator, which Gross calls a violent retaliation from a creature who has suffered continued abuse from mankind. Gross next narrates over recordings of assassinations, stating that humans are the only species to kill for greed. Assassin Francois Jourdan is interviewed, admitting that he kills solely for payment, not political or social value. If there were a case on which he had thoughts, he would immediately but respectfully decline the missions. Gross introduces another type of killer, the one who kills for no apparent reason. A gunfight ensues between a SWAT team and an armed murderer. During the gunfight, the SWAT team throws tear gas into the house of the murderer, who is later shot, after which the team enters the killer's house to find his family stabbed to death. Gross questions whether the man's actions were caused by society. As criminal Larry De Silva is executed by electric chair, Gross questions if two wrongs make a right. Gross visits the Los Angeles County Coroner's office, where Dr. Thomas Noguchi is embalming multiple corpses after their autopsies. One cadaver is a horrifically bloated drowned woman. The other is a decapitated man whose skin is peeled off his skull for examination. Gross asks Noguchi for his thoughts on his own embalming process after he dies, to which he replies, "Life is purely a transitory state. One man, Samuel Berkowitz, has his body subjected to cryopreservation after death. His bodily fluids are replaced with a liquid with a low freezing point. Then he is stored in a freezer to preserve his body for future science to revive him." The theater of preservation transitions to a brief discussion on suicide with footage of a woman jumping from a building. Gross admits this was a face of death he wishes never to face again. The next segment displays war and atrocities in history, including the Holocaust. Footage of German forces slaughtering enemy forces is shown as they were becoming more desperate in the latter years of the war. The segment ends with footage of Nazis being obliterated in battle and symbols of Nazism destroyed, with Gross saying that Hitler lost control not only of his army, but of his mind. Footage of animals dying due to litter and pollution is shown, followed by sick children in impoverished villages. Nature is examined with footage of a search party finding a body in caves, a drowned man recovered at a beach, and footage of a bear mauling irresponsible campers. More of the horrific nature of man is examined with footage of a venomous snake cult in Louisville, Kentucky, killing a handler in a cannibalistic cult eating a cadaver stolen from a morgue before partaking in an orgy. Footage of several more tragic accidents is shown, culminating in a scene of a person attempting a parachute jump, but dying after the parachute fails to open correctly. Gross disputes the notion that this death was quick and painless, as he would have been conscious and aware of the entire fall to the ground. The segment ends with a section on PSA Flight 182 and its grisly aftermath, featuring photographs of the accident, excerpts of audio from air traffic control, and footage of scattered body parts and destroyed houses at the crash site. Numerous witnesses are seen, including horrified people from the neighborhood and disgusted first responders. Gross states the neighborhood smells like rotting bodies and jet fuel, and that a mutilated body with only its torso and right hand is the worst face of death. Gross introduces his next topic, the role of supernatural forces in death. He meets with architect Joseph Binder, whose wife and son both died under tragic circumstances. Binder confides to the viewer that he believes his family remains as ghosts in his house that attempt to communicate with him. To verify this, Gross enlists the services of parapsychologists. The team takes photographs of footprints and two apparitions. Binder communicates with his family's spirits through a medium, seemingly confirming the existence of life after death. After studying Binder's case, Gross concludes that when we die, it isn't the end, as the soul in each of us remains a traveler forever. Gross questions whether death is the end of the beginning or the beginning of the end, and leaves the footage he has shown to the viewer's interpretation. The film ends with peaceful music, footage of a baby's birth, and photos of the child and its mother being together and happy. When Faces of Death hit VHS in the late 1970s and early 1980s, censorship boards had no idea how to classify it. Was it a documentary? A horror film? Something else entirely? In the UK, it landed squarely on the infamous Video Nasties list and was prosecuted under the Obscene Publications Act. Australia and New Zealand banned it outright. Canada seized tapes at the border. Even in the United States, where it was legally sold, police departments and news anchors issued public warnings about its content. Bootlegs spread through schoolyards and underground video stores, and the legend grew: real executions, real animal killings, real murders. Some was real, much was fake, but no one knew for sure, and that mystery became its marketing engine. Today, Faces of Death is more than just a curiosity. It's the ancestor of an entire genre. Before true crime shows, before YouTube shot clips, before LiveLeak, this was the tape people used to test their nerves. It spawned multiple sequels, a wave of imitators like Traces of Death, and a whole subculture of Mondo films that blurred reality and performance. It's still cited in essays about censorship, ethics in filmmaking, and our culture's appetite for forbidden images. Horror directors from Eli Roth to James Wan have name-checked it as one of the tapes passed around at sleepovers that scarred them into making horror movies of their own. Even Netflix is developing a meta remake, showing how the legend still has pull decades later. Half real, half staged, 100% legend. Faces of Death is one of the strangest artifacts in cinema history. It asked how far audiences would go, how much they'd watch, and in doing so, it made censors, critics, and viewers all complicit in its myth. If you're exploring the dark corners of banned and censored films, this is one you can't skip. Subscribe or follow this channel as we keep uncovering the most infamous, shocking, and culturally important films ever banned.